Hello, this is Dr. Do again. This video is outside of medicine. Continue with reading Psalm. I read Psalm 78 from last two previous videos. Since Psalm 78 is quite long, so I'm going to read, continue and finish Psalm 78. Okay. If you recall briefly, Psalm 78 is kind of counting the miraculous deed from the God and also the rebellions from the people. When they are in agony and distressed or in dangers, they came back to God to ask mercy, and God saved them. And then they turned around, forgot the graciousness of God, and then God was angry. And so this is kind of back and forth, kind of the faith sometimes is not that strong. So this about the Israelites, not just Israel. I think everybody have those kind of back and forth. And in other words, like I forgot the pain when the scar healed. So I'm going to continue the last part of Psalm 78. He gave his people over to the sword. He was very angry with his inheritance. Fire consumed their young men, and their maidens had no wedding songs. Their priests were put to the sword, and their widows could not weep. Then the Lord awoke as from sleep, as a man wakes from the stupor of wine. He beat back his enemies. He put them to everlasting shame. Then he rejected the tents of Joseph. He did not choose the tribe of Ephraim, but he chose the tribe of Judah, Mount Zion, which he loved. He built his sanctuary like the heights, like the earth that he established forever. He chose David his servant, and took him from the sheep pens. From tending the sheep, he brought him to be the shepherd of his people, Jacob, of Israel, his inheritance. And David shepherded them with integrity of heart, with skillful hands he led them. So that's the end of Psalm 78. Okay, so very straightforward. Continue with counting that how angry the God was because people, if you recall, they angered him with their high places. They aroused his jealousy with their idols. So because of the behavior of these Israelites, God is really angry, and he gave his people over to the sword. He was very angry with his inheritance, and fire consumed the young man and the maiden with no wedding songs, and priests were put to sword, and the widows could not weep. So this is the situation was kind of sad and sorrow because God angry. Then the Lord awoke as from sleep, as a man wakes from the stupor of wine, and he beat back his enemies, put them to everlasting shame. And again, and then God woke up to save them again. And then he rejected the tents of Joseph. He did not choose the tribe of Ephraim, but he chose the tribe of Judah, Mountain Zion, which he loved. He built his sanctuary like the heights, like the earth that he established forever. And he chose David, his servant, and took him from the sheep pens. So this is about, if you recall, Israel had 12 sons, so 12 tribes. At the beginning, when in Egypt, that was the Moses, the tribe of Levi, right? And established the commandment and established the relationship with the secretary of God, and so the priest always from the Levi family, and Joseph was the first son of Rachel, if you recall. Rachel, whom is really Jacob loved, and Leah is Rachel's older sister, and Leah gave sons. Judah is Leah's son, I think the fourth son, if I'm right. So from here, it determined that the eventually chosen is David's house, because this is the psalm written at David's time, and David was the one after Benjamin. So David was the king. If you recall, Benjamin was Joseph's brother. They share the same mother. They're both from Rachel. So it looks like eventually the descendants from Leah was the chosen inheritance, even though Jacob loved Rachel so much. So the first chosen one was Benjamin, the youngest from Rachel, the youngest son of Rachel. Rachel died because after gave birth to Benjamin. So it looks like Benjamin, which is Saul, was the Benjamin's tribe, if you recall. And now after that, so David was the chosen one. If you recall, Samuel, I think, chose David as the king. So from here also it says, he chose David his servant and took him from the sheep pens, and from tending the sheep he brought him to be shepherd of his people, Jacob, of Israel. So now determined David was the chosen one of Israel, of Jacob. So from 12 tribes, David is the tribe of Judah was the chosen one. If you recall, after Solomon, Solomon's son inherited the crown, and then the country divided. Judah was isolated again. So this is about brief history. But from here we know that David was the chosen one. And David shepherded them with integrity of heart, with skillful hand he led them. So this is a praise that saying that David is qualified to lead the people, to shepherd the flocks of Israel. So this is Psalm 78. We know the author Asaph. We do not know who Asaph is. I do not know who Asaph is. What is his job? Looks like probably one of the priests. So basically, summary from this Psalm 78. Again, we see the real. We see the faith, of course. On top of this faith, we see the real. The real. What is the real? I refer to is the real of people, of human, regardless whether they are the chosen one or not chosen one. The faith was back and forth when they sometimes forgot about forgot the decree of God, forgot the Ten Commandments, and they just enjoy their life and serving the idols, and then they were turned to the enemy, and then they came back to God again. So this back and forth process is the real of life. At the same time, each time after, in between this back and forth, I think the faith was reinforced and strengthened. So this is, and eventually from here we see that David was the chosen one, instead of other tribes of Israel's 12 sons. So David from Judah. So the Judah was the chosen tribe to shepherd their flocks. So, okay, so I'm going to stop here, and thank you for watching, and I hope that you can read and interpret in your own way. I'll see you next time.